Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 8th March. The news items that we have picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 14. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, CAG to undertake audit of demonetization fallout. So this is the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, Mr. Shashikant Sharma, who has presently announced that CAG will initiate auditing of the various aspects of demonetization. But demonetization per se cannot be questioned because this is related to banking and money supply issue. So that is outside CAG's audit jurisdiction. But then other aspects, the fiscal impact of demonetization can be questioned. That is the impact on tax revenues. So what was the expenditure on printing of notes, the RBI dividend which was to the Consolidated Fund of India which was paid. All these aspects can be looked into. The banking transaction data which has been generated. So the amounts which have been deposited in various bank accounts, and that information has been provided further to the revenue department, and what steps the revenue department has taken up on it, the follow-up of the revenue department. All this is subject to CAG audit. Another aspect is with respect to the recent decision of GST Council. So the GST Council, comprising of all finance ministers, headed by the central finance minister. Here the GST Council has decided that the authority given to CAG to audit GST should be dropped. So this has been the amendment to the draft, preliminary draft as such. So this is again a provision on which CAGS presently says that its stand has been conveyed to the government. So it has not come out in the open what is its viewpoint on it. The next news item is how eco-friendly are windmills. So this is an article describing how for setting up windmills, forest land has been cleared in Karnataka. So it says a little over 6,870 acres of forest land was cleared so that wind farms and associated infrastructure can be developed. So this is a forest clearance data which has been obtained from the Ministry of Environment and Forest. So this is quite shocking. So means, are windmills then eco-friendly when farms themselves, forests themselves are cleared? So this Karnataka, there are many major regions, especially this Chitradurga district, where windmills and renewable energy sources are established, and these hill ranges of Kappatagudda. So this is the region where the controversy has erupted because of this issue. Even because of windmills being established, other aspects, other drawbacks are that there are many reports of birth deaths coming in. That it has an effect on avian fauna. So the birds as such are affected because of windmills. So they actually get stuck in these windmills because the winds which have high speed, so that results in a wind funnel being established. So these wind funnels are actually used by migratory birds as cruising paths, because here they can easily move through this without much effort, can move through this. So these windmills are also there in the same location, so that affects the avian fauna, means the birds. Avian means those who fly, fauna means animals, so flying animals, that is birds. So the other aspect is that the noise which the windmills makes, the vibrations here, they affect even larger mammals. So not just birds, but the other animals are also affected because of windmills. The next news item is IISC among world's best 10 varsities. So this is Indian Institute of Science. So in the Times Higher Education's best small universities category in 2017, it has been ranked amongst the top 10. So smaller universities means universities with less than 5,000 students. So this is the only Indian university in the list of 20, and it's the second highest ranking Asian university. Indian Institute of Science. So Indian Institute of Science is located in Bangalore. It was established in 1909, means much before independence, with the support from Jamshedji Tata and Sir Krishnaraja Vodeyar, the Maharaja of Mysore. So with their assistance, this was established. Presently, it has the status of a deemed university as such. So this is IISC. The top small university in this category globally was California Institute of Technology, Caltech. The next news item is Supreme Court opens surrogacy window for singles. So there has been the recent news of Karan Johar, the Bollywood director. He became father to twins through surrogacy. So the surrogacy, the term means that a womb is rented. So a woman only carries the child. The fetus as such. So means the development of the fetus takes place there. It is attached in a woman's womb artificially. Means the sperm and the egg meet outside. They may meet in another woman, and then her womb would not be useful for carrying the child. Or even in vitro fertilization, means in the laboratory fertilization takes place of sperms and the egg, and then the child, that fertilized egg, is placed in a womb, and that woman carries the child through the entire pregnancy, 9 months, and then the delivery takes place. So this is called surrogacy. So surrogacy, actually commercial surrogacy, has also been taking place in the country presently, because there is no law banning it as such. But the government is planning to come up with a regulation on surrogacy. So this is Surrogacy Regulation Bill of 2016. So a draft is there presently before the Parliamentary Standing Committee, which is looking into it. So after that, the bill would be passed by the two houses, and then it would become an act, and then would be enforceable. So presently, commercial surrogacy also does take place. There have been many instances too, where we have also come up with dilemmas that what should be done of children born out of surrogacy. So there has been a case where a couple from Europe, so this is the case here. So German couple here, they wanted Indian citizenship for their surrogate twins. So these surrogate twins were born to a Gujarati woman, because citizenship by birth is possible here. So that's what the Supreme Court had to intervene on this matter. So this is again, so there are concerns that what should be the nationality, because then the child, the couple are from Germany, so they would be staying in Germany. So later, once they decided they want the child, and then they abandon the child, and they want that he is a citizen of India, now born in India. So these issues arise. So that is why the government here has planned that commercial surrogacy, again there are concerns about the women whose womb are used here. So these are poor women who are paid money, and they undergo this just for the sake of money. So this cannot be a commercial practice as such. So putting a stop on this, the government has initiated this bill. So presently, as it is allowed, this surrogacy has been used by many famous personalities as well. And Supreme Court presently has also allowed a representation. So this representation will be made before the parliamentary committee. So that's what the news is about, that surrogacy should be allowed for singles also. So this means that actually the bill provisions do not allow singles. So you can see the bill's provisions, there are very strict norms. It says that only those parents who means couples who are married for at least 5 years with no biological or adopted children can undergo or can take the facility of surrogacy. Also, live-in partners, single parents, homosexuals, foreigners, NRIs, PIOs are not allowed to enter into any surrogacy provision. Also, only close relatives married with at least one child of their own can become surrogates. They can be surrogate mothers only once in their lifetime, and they cannot be paid for it. So this is what surrogates for parents, for surrogates, and if any violation takes place of these norms, then there is 10-year jail term or 10 lakh fine. So presently, this is still a bill. So the Supreme Court generally looks into matters after the bill has become an act and an act is violating. But in this case, the Supreme Court is hearing a bunch of petitions already that commercial surrogacy is being banned. So this is, in the context of this, the Supreme Court has presently made a presentation to the parliamentary committee that is this specific provisions should be included in the bill, so that single persons can also become parents through surrogacy. So this is regarding that. So means what is allowed is altruistic surrogacy. Altruistic means you are doing something, doing a favor for someone, something good for someone else without any personal gain. So that is called altruistic. So commercial surrogacy would not be allowed, only altruistic surrogacy would be allowed. So that is what the bill is all about. So that's what we have to see, what further steps would be taken, whether the bill is passed in its present form. Also, it forms these boards, national surrogacy boards, state surrogacy boards would be established through this bill also. So they will be regulatory bodies, so looking into the practice and process of surrogacy. So that is regarding this. The next news item is Global Fund to help solve India's HIV crisis. So we have already discussed this in news that the child-friendly HIV syrup lopinavir, which Cipla manufactures, has stopped manufacturing this here. This is the sole manufacturer of this HIV drug for children in India. So because of that, there's lack of this drug presently in the market. So even local sourcing is not possible. And the step was taken by Cipla because the Indian Health Ministry specifically has not paid dues to Cipla for years now. So for 2014 to clearance has not taken place. So it has stopped getting involved in the bidding which the government has for various drugs to be provided. And this is the status presently. So now, as a solution to this, first of all, Health Ministry has released the first installment of the rupees 6 crore payment has been made, which is due to Cipla. So initiative on payment has also been taken, and another is that the help of this GFATM, the Global Fund for AIDS, Tuberculosis and Malaria. So this will provide a rapid supply facility for this lopinavir drug in India presently. So these steps have been taken. So we'll have to wait what happens on this too, because we need lopinavir annually. At least 36,000 bottles are needed annually. So there are over 600 children who are procuring this. So the steps here have been taken. The next news item is 41 named in Panama Papers under ED lens. So Enforcement Directorate has initiated formal investigations against 41 Indian nationals whose names had cropped up in the Panama Papers. So Panama paper leak which took place, we'll see that also in detail. So in these names of Indian nationals are also there. It is a global level leak. So international names are also there, and Indian national names which are there. So investigations on them is being undertaken now. ED has instituted formal investigations. Means what was this? Panama is actually a tax haven in Central America. So here there are business interests of various individuals, and Panama actually officially does not reveal the information regarding who has accounts here, who has investments here. But presently through this leak it has all come up, and prosecution will be initiated now. So investigation has started. So RBI has also confirmed that prima facie violation of FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act rules, has taken place by many individuals here who have been named, and Indian authorities have started approaching even their counterparts abroad that the data should be shared with the IT department under the double taxation avoidance agreement so that money laundering offenses can be looked into. So this is what it's taking place. Money laundering means you have money here, you earn money in India, but you don't want to show your money in India. You want to put it, stack it away in a tax haven. Why? Because if you show your money, so it may be earned through legal source only. So how black money is generated, it does not mean that black money is generated through illegal sources. If you don't declare your income and pay the taxes due, then it is illegal. Then it is black money. What you have generated is black money. Then you try to make that black money white, or you try to hide that black money. So the hiding of black money, of course, in cash, if you place it with yourself, so that is black money hidden. Only that now restrictions have been brought in on cash transactions up to a particular limit. 3 lakh is the limit beyond which you cannot have a cash transaction. So that's what it is, that this money, what you would do is you would invest it abroad. So there, these are tax havens. Abroad where? Not anywhere. Only in tax havens, because there the governments don't charge you taxes. If you declare them, you have to pay 30% tax, for example. If you declare in some tax haven, there will be nil or very minimal tax. So of course you get the benefit there. So you invest in these tax havens. So what the government is suffering, because your money is there with you, it belongs to you, it's there somewhere. But then the government here is under a loss because it does not get the taxes due. So that is what it is. So double taxation avoidance treaties are there with various countries. So on the basis of that too, the government wants that information should be provided to know whether any money laundering offense is being undertaken by anyone or not, and prosecution can be initiated. So these double taxation avoidance agreements are there, that if tax has been paid in one country, then the other country will not demand the tax. So that compatibility of taxation regime is brought in, because two different countries may have two different taxation regimes, and a national from one country, if he's going in another country, then which taxation laws would apply to him? That becomes a little difficult to clarify, and that is why then it may happen that he has to pay taxes in both the countries. Both governments demand taxes. Like for example, in India, NRI is the term used, non-resident Indian. Means if you're not residing in India for at least 6 months, then you're an NRI. In another country, there may be some other rule. So then if there he has to pay taxes in India because he is not an NRI here, but he is living abroad for some significant amount of time. So he is declared as having to pay taxes in that country because he is staying for so long. Then that becomes double taxation for him. So that is why these double taxation avoidance agreements are bilateral agreements generally signed presently. So under that too, IT department is asking that any money laundering offense, if it's there, then it should be brought out in the open. So that is also there. And there are three types of violations basically on this. So one is that you have a company incorporated overseas. So you establish a incorporated company overseas. Second is that you acquire majority shares of some such companies. So that is against FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act, that you are becoming a majority shareholder of any such company. So this is there. And the third one is opening the accounts of such companies and using them to stash slush funds. So you open an account of that company which you have established and you put your money in that company's account. Also, another point mentioned is that black money, undisclosed foreign income and assets, imposition of tax act. So this was like a scheme, like the way we have undisclosed income scheme, undeclared income scheme. This is for undisclosed foreign income. So this scheme was launched by the government in 2015. So for all voluntary disclosures, immunity is provided. But then it has been clarified that even after you have done voluntary disclosure, but you have not fully declared your overseas assets, then still you are under the scanner and action would be taken against you. So this is also clarified. Another step which has been taken by the government, the Enforcement Directorate here specifically, that it has also sent requests to Egmont Group. So this Egmont Group is actually an international platform comprising of FIUs, Financial Intelligence Unit, from various countries, around 152 foreign countries. The purpose of that being established is to secure exchange of expertise in financial intelligence on money laundering and terror funding. So here also information has been sought by the Enforcement Directorate of India on various suspicious transactions. So steps are being taken to bring out black money. So these are anti-black money measures taken. About the Panama Papers specifically, so these were Panama, a country in Central America here. So this was comprising of around 11.5 million leaked records. So this is the company here, Mossack Fonseca. So this is a law firm in Panama and it sells anonymous offshore companies around the world. Means it establishes companies, because in Panama, which is a tax haven, if anyone wants to establish a company, say an Indian wants to establish, so he would not know the legalities there. So this is a law firm which establishes such offshore companies anonymously. So here the details from this company have been leaked. So this law firm set up a shell company for clients registered in tax havens such as British Virgin Islands, etc. So companies could be set up, like if you want to have $1,000 going in, so you can have a small company also set up. So they were experts in this, setting up such anonymous companies. So there are 2,14,488 offshore companies, trusts, foundations which have been incorporated by Mossack Fonseca over the past 40 years. Right? So they have fake directors appointed so that owner's name does not appear in paperwork. These shell companies are made to look as legitimate business. So they are actually, there is secrecy about who is the owner also and how that money is coming in, so that they don't have to pay any taxes as such. So this layering is done. So layering means there are multiple shell companies in different havens and all linked together. So this layering process makes bringing them all out in the open difficult. So that is also done. This network or web is created of various companies and transactions. So that is there. So these papers from this Panama firm have leaked, Mossack Fonseca, and those have come in the hands of journalists internationally, and that's why it all came out in the open, and prominent names have been come up here. Even national leaders, politicians have also been named in these leaks. So that is there. You can see 500 plus banks and subsidiaries that created offshore companies through Mossack Fonseca have been revealed. So now investigation would take place on this matter, and India is also initiating investigation on this. You can see them. $22.9 trillion. Estimated amount of money hidden away in tax havens globally. So this, it says, is equivalent to annual economic output of US and Japan combined. So that is the amount of money which is there here. And the key names which have come up are shown here too. So in India too, it is Bollywood actor Amitabh Bachchan, Aishwarya Rai Bachchan. These have been named in these papers. Panama leaks. You can see. The next news item is anti-militancy operations called off after protests in Kashmir. So in Jammu and Kashmir, this anti-militancy operations had been initiated by the security forces, but then they had to be called off within in the 24 hours as such, because the people started pelting stones on the army and the police here. So that resulted in delaying of operations. Even as a response to this pelting of stones, the forces, armed forces and the police, they use heavy tear gas shelling also so that the protesters are dispersed. Even a woman and many locals were injured in this process also. So this rift between the forces and the local is seen in Jammu and Kashmir on this anti-militancy operation. Then the next news item is India first in bribery rate, says global NGO. So Transparency International. So this Transparency International has conducted a survey in Asia Pacific countries. So between July 2015 and January 2017, when this survey was conducted in India, at least 7, it's actually 69%, means 7 out of 10 people have said that while they access public service in the country, means government service in the country, they had to pay a bribe. So that is the high rate of incidence, the highest rate of bribery incidents in amongst these 16 Asia Pacific countries. For China, the bribery rate is only 26%, and Japan has the lowest incidence of bribery at 0.2%. So that is there. Also in this survey, it has come out that the important law and order institution, the police, is said to be suffering the most from corruption in India. So that is also there. Even it says that 1/3 of those who were communicated with, they said that were part of this survey, they said that their legislative representatives, officials and local councillors were highly corrupt according to them. So that was 1/3, means 35 to 37%. Even religious leaders, with respect to them, only 1 out of 5 said that they were highly corrupt, means only 18%. So that is there, that legislative representatives are corrupt, police is corrupt, is the perception. So Transparency International is known for its corruption perception index too. So it publishes this annually, and this is actually bribery rate in Asia Pacific countries, on which the news is there presently. So the international NGO which functions to take action, main purpose is to take action and to combat corruption, action against corruption. So this was founded in 1993 and is headquartered in Berlin in Germany. The next news item is PAU develops country's first BT cotton variety. So Punjab Agriculture University in Ludhiana, it has successfully developed the country's first BT cotton variety, and there are actually 3 varieties which have been identified. So Indian Council for Agricultural Research has identified these 3. They are named as PAU BT1, F1861 and RS 2013. So these are much cheaper than the BT cotton hybrid seeds which are presently available in the market. So this research and breakthrough has come forth in India. The next news item is Commonwealth unveils initiative to stamp out domestic violence. So this is an initiative taken by Commonwealth. What is Commonwealth? This is a multinational grouping. We'll look at that also. And what is domestic violence? Domestic violence means violence against women by the men in the family as such. So that is called domestic violence. So here generally it is done by husbands here. So Commonwealth is taking an initiative to tackle this domestic violence issue. So means it is initiating this program, Peace in the Home program. So here toolkits would be provided to various governments. So there are around 52 countries who are members of Commonwealth. So all these governments, including India, will have these toolkits, so they can have these multiple agencies like schools, doctors, hospitals, and other law enforcement agencies also under the government. They can come together, work effectively, and the details of initiatives that have been successful will be shared amongst them to deal with domestic violence. There will be mentoring program for women as well too. So this is the initiative taken. The governments have to strengthen their laws to protect women and girls across the group as such. So there is also a legal resource book on domestic violence. So setting out what is domestic violence against women and what are the national and international human rights laws on the matter. So this book also would be published as such. So Commonwealth, what is Commonwealth? Commonwealth of Nations. Generally it's known in short Commonwealth. So this is the British Commonwealth. So it was established post independence of India too in 1949. So 52 member states are there under this, and most of them are, not all of them, most of them are former territories of British Empire, means colonies of British have now come together as Commonwealth. And all of them were not former colonies. You should remember there are some minor small countries too which are also there, non-colonies too. So India is one amongst them, and the symbol of this Commonwealth is Queen Elizabeth II. So she is the head of the Commonwealth. But then India is a sovereign independent country, but we have accepted this Commonwealth was established by Britishers because it felt the relation which the two nations share, the colonial power and the colony, should continue even post independence granted to them. So that was the perspective with which this was established. So they said that they have no legal obligation as such being members of Commonwealth, but they are united by a language, history, culture, and shared values of democracy, free speech, human rights, and rule of law. So this was on the basis of which Commonwealth was formed. And it is most famously known for the Commonwealth Games. So these are held once every 4 years, just like Olympics, and all the Commonwealth members, these 52 member states, participate in these Commonwealth Games. So this you can see are the Commonwealth countries. Canada, Australia, they were British colonies. They were actually now presently, they are still having the sovereignty of the British Queen, though it is only nominal. Still the sovereign power here in Canada is the British Queen. Sovereign power in India is not the British Queen. It is the country is sovereign as such. The head of the state here is President of India, but here it is still the British Queen. Canada, Australia. So these India, Pakistan are the prominent countries. You can see Malaysia, Bangladesh, of course, was part of Pakistan only. So here these countries, then here you can see some African countries. So these are the members of, and of course these Caribbean countries you can see here, many small island nations. So all these are members of Commonwealth. The next news item is Commonwealth card mooted. So these Commonwealth nations are now also considering that they should have a scheme similar to the APEC grouping. So this is a multilateral grouping comprising of multiple nations. APEC is again a multilateral grouping comprising of various nations. So a scheme which is there in APEC, that is business travel card scheme. So a similar scheme will be brought forth for Commonwealth also. So this idea has been considered on. So under this business travel card scheme, business travelers are allowed to, as it is there in APEC, they are allowed to travel, means it's applicable for 5 years. They are allowed to have short-term multiple entry permits to other member countries. So they are free from applying visas again and again. Every time that they travel, they don't have to apply a visa. This business travelers card present in this case for 5 years, so they can have multiple short-term entries. APEC, what is APEC? Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. So it comprises of countries in the Asia and Pacific. India also wants to be a member of APEC, but it has not become a member yet. And APEC has put a moratorium on having new memberships as such. So that moratorium ended also, but still no action has been taken. India still remains elusive. But APEC is an important grouping because, and it's a commercial grouping, means it is there for the Commonwealth is not a trade union grouping, but here the major purpose is to reduce barriers to trade, increase exchange of goods as such, technical know-how exchange should take place, technical cooperation. So that was the economic basis on which the APEC grouping has been formed. So you can see it was established in 1989. So this was APEC. It was the initiative of Australia. So you can see what it does is facilitating economic growth, trade and investment in the Asia Pacific region. There are 21 countries which are member to APEC. But this business traveler card scheme is amongst 19 of the APEC countries. So this you can see APEC. So this is the Pacific Ocean here, and this is Asian countries here. So Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. So you can see the Pacific countries, USA, Canada, Mexico, and 2 South American countries, Peru and Chile are also members here. And then you have the Asian countries. China is a member, you can see Russia, China, Japan, South Korea. All these many Asian countries are also there. Australia, New Zealand is there. India is not a member here. And also earlier we have seen in news that APEC also, statements had come from APEC that why they're not keen on making India member, because they feel, according to them, the statement that had come was that India puts a lot of hindrances in free trade. So the free trade negotiations become difficult because it has many rigid stands, like the way it was seen during trade facilitation agreement too. So though India has to stand for its own nationals, for its own farmers, as it did, because it's emphasized on the subsidies for agriculture, that aspect should be resolved, then we would go ahead with trade facilitation agreement. So that at that point of time only this news had also come that APEC feels that India hinders negotiations. So that is why they're not keen on India being part of this grouping, had been a statement as such. Then the next news item is meeting set to review postal imports. So we have already seen about this in news few days back regarding e-commerce. So in e-commerce, there are postal imports which take place. So here in these cases, we are seeing, so e-commerce, Indian e-commerce being promoted, means from Indian websites going abroad, and from websites abroad also commodities coming into India. So these packets which come into India, it has been seen that in many cases, fake currency is coming in through parcels. There are bullion. So bullion is foreign exchange, or high altitude drones have also been seized, and as such steps need to be taken that there should be these X-ray machines upgraded so that non-intrusive scanning is also possible of these mail parcels. So that is there. So still there are problems with e-commerce when you buy something from abroad, because there will be more delivery time which would be there, plus custom duties would also be very high when this transaction takes place. It's imported into the country, but still any good which is provided by such websites, offered by such websites, which is not available in India, or in cases where local currency transactions are also allowed by these foreign websites, then sales are better, and it is seen that transactions do take place and these imports come in. So presently on these imports and exports through e-commerce, a consultation would be undertaken by the finance minister. So this is their due. So this will be part of the midterm review of the foreign trade policy 2015 to 20. So commerce minister will meet the stakeholders. So here the exporters' concerns about various restrictions with respect to e-commerce, which we had discussed in the last article on e-commerce. So that would also be looked into. So they had said that there are restrictions, like in case of e-commerce, when a product is brought back into the country, means a consumer abroad wants to return the product. So when it comes back to the country, it is considered as an import, and import duty is imposed on it, customs imposed on it. So that is a loss to the e-commerce retailer here in the country. So those aspects were also there, and other aspects in which the government intervention was required to facilitate e-commerce. The next news item is you can switch from EPF to NPS. So Employee Provident Fund Scheme, under which there are more than 8 crore members here. So these are government employees majorly. They can opt for the new scheme, that is National Pension Scheme. This is again a retirement savings scheme. So this has been proposed by Pension Regulatory Authority, that is PFRDA, Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority. So it has been 2 years since the finance minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, had promised that an alternative should be provided to the employees of the government too in 2015 as such. So now in 2017, PFRDA has notified the procedure that how EPF members can transfer the investments to NPS. So this will be allowed now. So EPF and employee state insurance corporation. So these are called as hostages rather than clients. They're just stuck in EPF and these schemes. The finance minister wants that such workers' income they suffer due to statutory deductions towards EPF and employee state insurance corporation. So now once they come under NPS, then this will change. So 24% of employees' salary is diverted to EPF as mandatory retirement savings scheme. And under NPS, there are different features. So you can see the difference between EPF and NPS also mentioned here. So this is voluntary retirement savings scheme. Employees Provident Fund is mandatory retirement savings scheme for the salaried employees. This is for all individuals. This is only for salaried class individuals. The NPS, the new scheme, this has here contribution up to 10% of basic and dearness allowance is allowed as deduction. And here contribution towards EPF is tax exempt, but here it is exempt up to a limit of rupees 1 lakh. So under NPS, maximum contribution is up to 10% only. Here contribution towards EPF is mandated. We saw that it is fixed at 24%. So this is not taxable as such. So you can see that it is tax exempted up to rupees 1 lakh. So if your contribution is up to rupees 1 lakh under section 80C of IT Act, it is exempted. Here also exemption is there, this 80 as such, but contribution maximum can be 10% to the fund and national pension as scheme as such. And withdrawals, if any, are made. So withdrawals are taxable at the slab rate. So that is there in the national pension scheme. And under this old employees provident fund scheme, withdrawal is taxable if an individual has not completed 5 years in an organization. Then here you can invest up to 50% in equity market. In EPF, you cannot invest in equity market, means stocks. Then this gives better returns than EPF, and returns are not guaranteed as such, but better returns are possible. Here it is guaranteed returns, interest rates are fixed. So it's low returns but guaranteed. Here there can be much better returns but not guaranteed. So this is the new scheme. Limited premature withdrawal allowed but taxable. Here also premature withdrawal is allowed but as such. So this was there. Then account can be closed only after the age of 60 years. Here there is no restriction. Complete withdrawal is also allowed on certain grounds. So cost levied on investment, here there is no cost involved as such. So means if you are doing any investment, then there's a cost levied as such on that too. You can see NPS charges. So national pension system charges, fund management fee is also there. So that is the cost. Then this you can see EPF, NPS, it is shown. So in NPS now, the national pension system, here there are various aspects in which you can invest. So it is E here stands for equities, C stands for corporate bonds, and G stands for government bonds. So you can invest in anything you want. The higher the risk, the better the interest rate paid. So under EPF, it is fixed. You can see around 8.8% you can see. So here in NPS, you can get around 11 to 13% also when you invest in equities. In corporates also, you can get 7 to 9%. In government securities, of course, government securities are assured. So there you will assuredly get your returns. So here interest rates are low. So you can, so this is there. Then the next news item is local steel may become a must for $59 billion infra spend. So this is the last news item. So here India has plans that it will make it mandatory that local steel should be used in government infrastructure projects. So this means local sourcing. So it says that this is WTO compliant protectionist measure because we need to cut imports from outside. So mainly it is Chinese cheap steel which is flooding the Indian market, because of which Indian steel industry is suffering. So that is why this provision will be brought forth, that is being considered. So this may become a provision that for government infrastructure spending, local steel only has to be used. So here the local companies, steel manufacturing companies like JSW Steel, Tata Steel, they will get a boost. And also global steel makers like such as ArcelorMittal, POSCO, they will also be attracted to invest in the country. So they'll set up here their base and then they can produce steel here. So that will be local steel that can be procure. So that is what we plan to do. So India is the third largest steel consumer in the world. So we have a lot of import of steel and lot of use of steel as such for infrastructure development which takes place. And India says that, so analysts here are saying that similar proposal has been brought forth by US President Donald Trump too. So it says that in US also there is need to use domestic steel to build 2 energy pipeline projects. So this, if it is violating international trade laws, then they here also there is a violation. So that is pointed out. But then Indian officials are clear that their provision, what they are planning to do is WTO compliant. So it says that under GATT, General Agreement on Tariff and Trade of WTO, there is an exception that procurement by government agencies of products purchased for government purposes and not for commercial resale is allowed. So this is also for government purposes. So that is why it would be allowed, and it is completely WTO compliant, and they may bring in this provision. So these are the news items. Thank you.